Hi, I'm Kristen Goodwin. On this episode of the Fox News Rundown, the Supreme Court ruling to uphold two Republican-backed election laws in Arizona, which challengers argue will make it harder for minorities in the battleground state to vote. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich discusses the ruling and how it may impact the nationwide debate over election reform. And following a year of coronavirus restrictions, plenty of Americans may be celebrating their pandemic freedom along with Independence Day this holiday weekend. Celebrity chef and cookbook author Paula Deen shares a few recipes you can whip up for your barbecue and dishes on her favorite summer meals and her new Fox Nation special At Home with Paula Deen, Paula's Family Cookout. Plus commentary by retired Marine Staff Sergeant, Fox News contributor and host of the Proud American podcast, Johnny Joey Jones. The Fox News Rundown is a daily news podcast where we take a deeper look at the stories important to you. You can subscribe on your favorite podcast player by going to foxnewspodcast.com.
I'm Tom Shalhoub.
I'm Liz Peek.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox News Rundown.
Friday, July 2nd, 2021. I'm Jessica Rosenthal. A major voting rights decision wrapped up the Supreme Court's latest term, and the justices' divided ruling could have far-reaching impacts.
Arizona law does not disenfranchise or deter anyone, from voting. I mean, the reality is that in Arizona, there is a plethora of ways to vote.
I'm Lisa Brady. You're invited to a family cookout to celebrate the 4th of July.
We've got wonderful recipes for the grill and outdoor cooking.
With celebrity chef Paula Deen.
And I'm Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Johnny Joey Jones. I've got the final word on the Fox News Rundown.
The Supreme Court upheld two of Arizona's voting laws passed in recent years in a 6-3 ruling. One said with limited exceptions, people cannot turn your ballot in for you, also known as ballot harvesting. The other said ballots cast out of precinct will not be counted. Justice Samuel Alito wrote the majority opinion, saying that when a state provides multiple ways to vote, any burden imposed on voters who choose one option can't be evaluated without considering the other ways to vote. The ruling comes at a time when Republican-led states are passing a number of voting rule changes. The U.S. Attorney General is willing to file lawsuits to stop those changes, and Democrats are pushing for national election rules.
We are scrutinizing new laws that seek to curb voter access, and where we see violations, we will not hesitate to act. We are also scrutinizing current laws and practices in order to determine whether they discriminate against black voters and other voters of color.
That was Attorney General Merrick Garland just a couple of weeks before filing suit against Georgia over its voting rights law. Critics of Arizona's laws have pointed to the Voting Rights Act, saying these and other rules would not have held up if the Supreme Court hadn't found Section 5 of the Act unconstitutional in 2013. It had said certain states with a history of voting discrimination had to get pre-clearance from the federal government before changing their voting rules.
As the president has said, we need Congress to pass S1 and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which would provide the department with the tools it needs.
What remains, though, is Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which bars discriminatory voting practices, and in her dissent, Justice Elena Kagan accused the majority of rewriting Section 2 with this Arizona ruling. So what does this ruling mean for the future of state voting rule changes and for the future of Justice Department efforts to stop those changes? First, we'll get into the Arizona laws themselves with the state's Attorney General, Mark Brnovich, whose name is listed in the case title and who argued the case before the Supreme Court justices himself.
I think it was a big win for the Constitution, and it was a big win for the rule of law, and a big win for state sovereignty.
Let's go back, though, to the Ninth Circuit's ruling, because they said the motivations behind Arizona's bill were to disenfranchise voters. And they cited statistics saying that Hispanic and Indian residents were more likely to rely on having someone else take their ballot in for them, the ballot harvesting issue, and that Black, Hispanic, and Native voters were also more likely to engage in out-of-precinct voting. That was the other bill. What did the Supreme Court say to the Ninth Circuit's ruling in when they cited these statistics?
Well, there's a reason why the Ninth Circuit historically is the most overturned circuit, because the reality is there was a 10-day trial here in Arizona before a federal judge, and the judge ruled that these laws were constitutional and consistent with the Voting Rights Act. And part of that reason is not only the facts and evidence that were presented at trial, but the reality is a majority of states and even the District of Columbia have limits on out-of-precinct voting. We know that in 2005, Jimmy Carter co-authored, co-chaired a commission that said that mail-in ballots were one of the greatest sources of potential voter fraud. So there are states that have these kind of common sense election integrity measures. And it's not enough for some, the judge on the Ninth Circuit sitting in their ivory tower to speculate and, come up with their own set of facts. The reality is if you want to bring a Section 2 voting rights claim, the Supreme Court said you actually have to show this disparate impact, and you have to show that the challenge law caused it.
Okay, that the challenge law caused it. So the argument then is, okay, these statistics may be right. More people of color maybe do engage in out-of-precinct voting.
Well, once again, if you listen, I argued the case to the Supreme Court. If you listen to the argument, there was statistical anomalies. We submitted things that were not statistically significant that you couldn't show or prove were caused by any state action. So at the end of the day, the Arizona law does not disenfranchise or deter anyone, from voting. I mean, the reality is that in Arizona, there is a plethora of ways to vote. People can vote early. They can vote in person. They can vote on Election Day. We have no excuse absentee balloting. Don't want to get out of your car? There's literally drive-through ballot locations. And contrast that with jurisdictions like Delaware, Connecticut, New York, all these East Coast states where you have to have some bureaucrat approve whether you want absentee voting. In New Jersey, the governor just touted a law that allows for 9 days of early voting. In Arizona, we have 3 times as many days. So the reality is that there are numerous ways that people can exercise the franchise in Arizona. And as I said during the oral argument, public servants have no more sacred duty than protecting the people's right to vote. But we have to maintain confidence in the integrity of the process and the results.
I want to follow up on that, because one of the criticisms from Democrats at the time that these bills were being debated was that these bills were meant to address fraud that had not occurred, that it was just more in reaction of fear of what might occur. What is the fear? I mean, what is the fear when it comes to ballot harvesting and having somebody take your vote in for you?
Well, we know that no less than liberal icon Jimmy Carter in 2005 co-chaired a commission that said that mail-in ballots are one of the greatest sources of potential fraud. In 2012, the New York Times editorialized about their concerns about mail-in balloting. So there was a time not that long ago where Democrats and Republicans understood that we needed to protect the integrity of the process. And if folks on the far left really cared, or they really thought that in any way this was discouraging voting or disenfranchising voters, they would do something about states like Delaware or, New Hampshire or Michigan or Massachusetts, all these other states with more restrictive voting measures. So one of the fallacies that the far left is doing or perpetuating is somehow they think that there's an either-or choice. Either we have to have more voting or we have to have voter integrity. And the reality is they aren't inconsistent, and you can have both. We can have record turnout, and we can have people being confident in results. And that's what these common sense election integrity measures are designed to do.
What does this ruling mean for other voting laws being passed in other states, and also for Arizona's other voting laws that just recently passed? Will this apply? Will this become precedent for other laws that have more recently passed?
Well, I think at the end of the day, if someone wants to bring a claim that there's a violation of the Voting Rights Act, they have to have facts. They have to have evidence. It's as simple as that. And I think that it will mean that if there are states that are truly trying to disenfranchise voters, they'll have to, demonstrate what they're doing or not doing is consistent with the Constitution and Voting Rights Act. But at the end of the day, this also means that I think there's going to be serious questions asked about, for example, the Biden administration's lawsuit against Georgia.
Right.
So they're suing Georgia, saying that somehow they're disenfranchising or suppressing voters, but Georgia's law is more open and provides more voting opportunities than so many, liberal states.
But how much does this change the dynamic? Because we know this Justice Department, Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, has said for weeks now, we're going to be cracking down on states where we see civil rights violations. We're going to go after them. And then after he made this big speech about voting rights, he did file suit against Georgia. We know Governor Ducey in Arizona has signed voting laws pertaining to voting recently. Is Arizona next? And does this Supreme Court ruling really upend the dynamic here as the Justice Department tries to go after states?
I can't predict what the Justice Department may or may not do, but if they read this opinion in a serious manner, they will know that their lawsuit against Georgia is in serious jeopardy, because how are they going to show that, that this statute or that law was designed to and caused an impact in voting? I think they're going to have a tough time doing that. And once again, this case stands for the proposition that states can enact common sense election integrity measures. And the reality is that, what works in Manhattan, New York may not work in Manhattan, Kansas, and what works in Virginia Beach may not work in Redondo Beach. And so the real danger and the real threat is trying to nationalize our elections. And I think the far left using this as some sort of excuse that they're going to take control of every state's election process.
One more for you, Mr. Attorney General. Your name is on this case, and you personally argued before the Supreme Court. Now that it's over, what strikes you most about this whole experience? Was it something that happened in court? Was it upon reading the ruling that you realized something you'd said resonated? What is it?
I think that being a first-generation American, and I think when you're, my family fled communism, and when you have just not only studied history, but your family lived it, you have a real appreciation for how important our Constitution is and how the United States is different in a lot of ways than in other countries. This may not be a perfect union, but we've got a system in place that makes us the greatest country in the world. And that system is all based on the rule of law. No matter who we are, where we come from, we all get treated equally. And the fact that a first-generation American public school kid, I'd never run for office before I became Attorney General, could become the Attorney General and then bring a case, argue that case, and win that case is something that is not only humbling to me, it's important, and to me, it's the embodiment of the American dream.
Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
This is Staff Sergeant Johnny Joey Jones with your Fox News commentary coming up.
The pandemic's not over, but it's fair to say this 4th of July feels a lot more like normal to many people, with COVID restrictions eased and families able to gather once again, which often means sharing a meal.
Listen to this menu, y'all. We're having butter burgers.
TV chef, author, and restaurant owner Paula Deen is hosting a family cookout for her latest Fox Nation special and celebrating Independence Day.
Well, I'll tell you, Lisa, we are blessed to live on the water.
She's back in familiar surroundings to many fans, her house on Turner Creek in Savannah, Georgia.
Which puts us in view of Tybie's fireworks, the Yacht Club's fireworks, and if we stand on a certain dock, we can even see downtown fireworks. So we choose to stay at home and enjoy the festivities from afar. So we get to celebrate and watch from our home.
With lots of fireworks. That sounds fantastic.
With fireworks going all around.
I know there's a new episode new episode of your Fox Nation special is streaming now. At Home with Paula Deen, Paula's Family Cookout. I'm so excited. We are all invited. What can viewers expect to be treated to?
Well, we are actually in our outdoor kitchen at the home that we are now renovating to move back into. So it's been a good long while since my fans have seen that home and that outdoor kitchen. So we were so glad to be able to do it there because people will recognize that outdoor kitchen, and it all takes place right there on Turner's Creek. And no fireworks, though. You'll be able to hear what we're saying.
What would you say is the highlight of this episode?
I think the highlight of this episode is, well, anytime some of my grandchildren are there, that's always a highlight for me. But when we sat down to have our meal, it was interesting to me. I took the time to ask each person at our table what the 4th of July meant to them. And I have a daughter-in-law, Claudia Deen, Bobby's wife. She is from Venezuela, born in Venezuela. And when it came her turn to answer, she said opportunity. And I thought that was interesting coming from someone that had not had the privilege of growing up here in America, but coming in her 20s to live here. So I thought, we all the answers were similar from everyone at the table. It meant that we're free to do as we please. We're free to pursue a living. In fact, I'm one of the American dream stories. The fact that I could start a business with $200 and take it to where it is now is just amazing, only in America. But I thought, not every country has the opportunities that we have. So I thought her answer was very, very interesting.
That is interesting. Something for kind of everyone to think about on Independence Day, what it means to them. I wanted to ask you about 4th of July recipes. Do you have some favorite ones or some go-to ones? I know on this episode you came up with a whole new one, which is mouth-watering.
Yes. You got to try a butter burger. I came up with that quite a few years ago. And we were celebrating everybody's birthday on one particular Sunday if their birthday was in that month. So I wanted to do something a little special. So I said, I bet a butter burger would be good. And it is. It's just delicious. But, it really depends on whether the weather is working with you or not. I've got some wonderful inside recipes. But if the weather's good, we've got wonderful recipes for the grill and outdoor cooking.
What's a good, easy one for someone who may not be a pro cook like you that they could do for the 4th?
Well, everything that I cooked on this special was super, super easy. The fresh corn was wonderful. And the butter burgers were so easy. But a recipe that I really liked in this special was the scalloped potatoes because it's cooked in a slow cooker. And just about all of our out-of-door places now supplies electricity. So it was just very easy to prepare our sides outside as it is inside.
I feel like that's something people have been doing more in recent years, too. The slow cookers, the air fryers, the pressure cookers, they can really be time savers. Do you have tips for people who want to use those? Is there kind of a go-to thing you do to make that easier?
Oh, my goodness. I love my pressure cooker. If you're cooking ribs outside, you can put those on for about 15 or 20 minutes in your pressure cooker and then take them out to your grill, or if your pressure cooker is outside. And that'll cut down on the length of time it takes to cook your ribs. So my air fryer, if my ribs don't get crispy enough to suit me, I can throw them in my air fryer and within 10 minutes have them crisp up. So I'm an appliance junkie.
Is there, when it comes to grilling, is there a common mistake that people should avoid?
There is one common mistake that people tend to make while they're grilling, and that's putting their food on a too hot a fire. You need to let your charcoal, if you're cooking on charcoal, you need to let those coals turn gray. Because if you put them on a fire that is just blazing up and hot, there's a chance that you're going to ruin your meat. You're going to burn it before it gets done. So I think that's a common mistake that people make.
I really enjoy your Fox Nation specials because they always just feel good. It's like feel good listening and viewing. Are you working on more of them for this year?
Yes. I have had so much fun doing these specials. And we're working on a few more for the rest of the year, which I'm very, very excited about. And it's great now that it was really, really difficult at first. Not that difficult, but it was challenging. Let's say challenging, because we did our filming in-house with 3 of us and a telephone.
Wow.
Our first 2 or 3 specials were shot that way. And now that restrictions have been lifted a little bit, the Fox Nation team is now coming in and filming these, and it makes it so much easier to have a crew here doing it with us instead of us shooting it on our telephones.
Well, the new one is streaming right now at Home with Paula Deen, Paula's Family Cookout on Fox Nation, and we appreciate you very much, Paula Deen, coming on the Rundown.
Oh, listen, I appreciate you having me, Lisa, and I hope everybody tunes in to watch, because it's really a beautiful, beautiful view of Turner's Creek. And not all of my family could come, but a good many of my family could come. It's hard to get 24 people together at one time. So I hope everybody enjoys it. I know we certainly had fun doing it for everybody. And the fact that you said it makes you feel good to watch, that is my goal. I want people to feel like they're right there with us, feeling the love and the companionship of family and friends.
Thank you, Paula. Happy 4th.
Thank you, Lisa. Happy 4th to you, and be safe.
New from the Fox News Podcasts Network.
My name is Kennedy, and welcome to my podcast, which will, I humbly say, single-handedly save the world. You're welcome.
It's Kennedy Saves the World. Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com.
And now, some good news with Tanya J. Powers.
U.S. military troops may be stationed around the world, but they're sending Independence Day greetings back to the States. We've all heard the saying, freedom isn't free. And today we're hearing from the troops that sacrificed to make that freedom possible.
Hey everyone, my name is Corporal Hart. I'm with 3MEF Information Group, Camp Hansen, Okinawa, Japan. Just want to wish my friends and family back in Ocala, Florida, a happy 4th of July.
My name is Staff Sergeant Charles Hokamp at Cat C Camp Fuji, Japan. I want to wish my family around the world a very blessed Independence Day. Hoorah!
Hello, my name is Major Andrew Holmes. I'd like to wish all my family and friends back stateside a happy 4th of July. And just want to give a shout out to my 2 daughters back stateside and my fraternity brothers from Omega Psi Phi. Thank you.
This is Lance Corporal Nelson Aponte, stationed here at Cat C Camp Fuji, Japan. I just wanted to wish my wife Stephanie and our 2 sons, Raphael and Ezra, a safe Independence Day.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Derek Vandy Slunt, assigned to the USS Wasp, and I would like to wish my friends and family back in Brandon, Wisconsin, a very safe and happy 4th of July Independence Day weekend.
Hi, I'm Seaman Bagley, assigned to the USS Wasp, and I would like to wish my friends and family back home in Kansas City, Kansas, a very safe and happy 4th of July. Stay safe.
My name is Senior Airman Matthew Allen, and I want to wish everybody and my friends and family back in Missouri a happy 4th of July. Miss you and love you and can't wait to see you.
Hey everyone, my name is Staff Sergeant John Anderson. I'm with 5th Security Force Assistance Brigade at Joint Base Lewis-McChord, Washington. Just want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July.
Hi, I'm MMFN Antoine, assigned to the USS Wasp, and I would like to wish my friends and family back home in Bronx, New York, a very safe and happy 4th of July.
Hey, this is Captain Chris Farnsworth from 5th Security Force Assistance Brigade at Joint Base Lewis-McChord, Washington. Just want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July.
Hi, I'm CSS Amora, assigned to the USS Wasp, and I would like to wish my friends and family back in El Paso, Texas, a very safe and happy 4th of July.
My name is Corporal Joseph Sensulo. I'm 3rd Maintenance Battalion McQuist. I'm UT-1 Cody Schwartz. I'm the Headquarters Support Battalion McQuist.
I'm Corporal Benjamin Boser-Irving, and I'm the 3rd Maintenance Battalion McQuist.
Happy 4th of July from Okinawa, Japan!
Happy Independence Day, America. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
It's time for your Fox News commentary.
Johnny, Joey, Johnny.
What's on your mind?
A small distinction to most makes a big difference to many. As a free and prosperous country, we celebrate our independence every year on the 4th of July. But it seems as if we almost celebrate two different holidays. One, a date on the calendar, the 4th day in our 7th month, early summer, a time to vacation, cook out, go to the lake, and enjoy the gorgeous days late into the evening. The other, a reminder of the struggle to achieve self-governance, our independence, and with it, a sole responsibility for what our country would and could become and how we might do it. Most people see our independence as a singular act or war, hundreds of years ago. Yes, General George Washington and his band of revolutionary fighters sparked the flame with their muskets and muster that should still inspire us today. But the steady fire of freedom has been threatened by enemies and secured by patriots for generations. From the succession of the southern states, to the bombing of Pearl Harbor, to Soviet missiles in Cuba, and then the horrific tragedies on September 11, 2001, every generation of Americans pause in their celebrations of freedom in order to do the work necessary to secure it for the next. Independence and its offspring of freedom are the precious product of our sacrifice and will always demand more from us. So as you celebrate on July 4th, with all the fun and pageantry you can handle, remember it's also Independence Day, a day to remember and celebrate the many generations of Americans who were standing watch for this great nation. God bless and happy Independence Day. This is retired Marine Staff Sergeant and Fox News contributor Johnny Joey Jones. Check out my Proud American podcast at foxnewspodcast.com, as well as the Proud Americans I have as guests on my show, Fox Nation Outdoors, on the Fox Nation app.
You've been listening to the Fox News Rundown. Stay up to date by subscribing to this podcast at foxnewspodcasts.com. And for up-to-the-minute news, go to foxnews.com.
Hey, it's Brett Larson, inviting you to download and listen to the new daily Fox on Tech podcast. There's part of a colorful late 90s iMac on Mars. It's an idea that seems a lot like Kickstarter called Build It. Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Love Fox News? Click the subscribe button to get more of the news and opinion you trust. And click the Fox News Rundown playlist for the latest episodes.